Welcome back, everybody. After a pretty full morning into the afternoon of work, I've gotten nowhere. That's not true. Actually, did some progress. I got the radiator installed temporarily. I shouldn't really say temporarily. It's not gonna come back out, but it's being held in with zip ties right now. I have to make brackets, the factory brackets I couldn't find, and the way I want to mount this, so it wouldn't have lined up with the factory holes in the cross member anyway. But as you can see, it's installed. I do have the hoses connected to it, and that's a story I'll tell in a moment. The wiring is temporarily done, and it does, well, you'll see here in a bit that it does work. Those are going to get properly terminated and then reloomed, taped, so that they're hidden out of the way. But I've got the fan and ground there. I've got the ignition power lead in. I've got the battery one on there, and I've got a ground there. And then I've got, you probably can't see it, but it's this black wire right here that's going to the temperature sending unit, which I was, as you can see down there, that copper thing, I was able to get that in the cylinder head. And I know that's working because the fans do trigger at temperature, so that's good. There was kind of one issue with getting a lower radiator hose. I was hoping it wouldn't be, but I kind of should have known there would be. The factory ones don't fit. It's gonna have to be custom, and you can tell right now it's two pieces. Those two clamps in the middle are securing a piece of PVC inside the radiator hoses. I ended up using the factory one that I had, and the one I was using on my test stand, and cutting them in the proper bends and then splicing them together with that PVC, but that's in there. And yeah, so it is filled with fluid. And Andy, would you like to start it?
Sure.
We're gonna start it up. There she is running with fluids this time. We've let it ran already for about a combined 30 minutes probably. Yeah. And the temperature gauge in the car is not working. I got to figure that out. But the thermostat opened and we have airflow or water flow. The fans did trigger. I did adjust my fuel pressure. It's high right now, but as it warms up, so to speak, after a minute or two, the pressure drops. I've got it set at about 4.5, 5 pounds. So that's okay right there. See the filter bowl is full. Good. Go ahead and shut her off. I don't know if you can hear that. That's the fans spinning down. Proof positive that they did work. They do come on. Was hoping, you know, I always like to show what I do, but I just hit go mode this morning when I got here because I didn't want to waste my brother's time. I wanted to have things I could do done before I needed the second hand. So I just jumped in and got the wiring done, and then Andy came over and helped with the rest of it. One thing he had noticed, and I gotta, hopefully it's not a big deal, but there's a little bit of a, seems like, I don't want to call it chatter. What would you call it, burble?
Yeah.
There's a noise at the flywheel. And then I got down under the truck, and I don't know. I mean, I know they're not perfect circles, but it seems like there's a little bit of wobble in the flywheel, and I hope that thing isn't bent or out of balance. And there's a little bit of noise that comes out of that. I'm not going to worry about it until I get the torque converter bolted down and see if that goes away. But that's something I have to keep in the back of my mind now that he's heard it, and I heard it too after he told me. Honestly, I didn't notice it, but he did. His ears are better than mine. And then we both noticed that it's not timed right, or there's something in the ignition, and as you accelerate, it's not a terrible miss, but there's definitely a miss in it. So what I'm going to have to do is pop the plug, find TDC again, and set 0 degrees on the mark on my timing indicator. And I need to get one of those pieces of timing tape that you can put on balancers, because the marks, as I said this way back when I first got this harmonic balancer, they're terrible. They're not legible at all. And this is a Summit racing piece. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. but I can get tape that goes over that to make the marks more visible, to make sure it's properly timed. And so from there, after that, I'll probably have to pull the valve covers and relash. Even though these are hydraulic rollers, you're not supposed to have to set valve lash. That doesn't mean I had it set entirely properly the first time I did it. So the valve lash can cause a miss too, by valves not opening or closing in time. If there's too much or not enough play in them, they could be stuck open during a cycle because they're too tight, or they could have too much lash and not open in time, and that can definitely cause a miss too, as much as ignition. So I'm gonna have to go through all that. But man, super happy. You can see that radiator in there. Even with the zip ties, it looks pretty damn cool, and it's working. So I talk more about this later. I just wanted to get this video out there, and again, I apologize I didn't film any of what I did today up until this point, because we're just in go mode. So I'll close it out here in a little bit. Yeah, so I haven't shown you the Charger in a while, the blacked out RT. She's no truck, but it's pretty nice, I guess. I love this car, so badass.
Everything the Challenger should have been heavier.
Yeah, what is it, 4,100 curb weight?
Yeah, it's over 4.
Yeah, but she's still nice though. But you never count that. That's a moving target. You don't worry about that. Give her a little gas and watch it pull out. So there it is, everybody. That's what I was able to get done today, and it was a bit, and not everything I wanted to do, but I am totally fine with that. I am just done setting hard deadlines and things that I have to get done because you just don't know what's going to come up. Not that anything major came up today, but enough to, you know, the things as D, E, and F on your list you may not get to. So I got A, B, and C done. That's a good deal. So what I found after this, now I know that I'm going to have to rework transmission lines. I didn't show that in the video, but those are not going to line up with that radiator. So I'm going to have to take the transmission lines I have, probably cut them, flare them, and do rubber hose up to the transmission. Not the end of the world, not the hardest thing in the world. And didn't get the torque converter bolted up, didn't put it in gear, but that's fine. Discovered the miss in the motor. That'll have to be addressed before I even worry about driving it anyway. So, you know, what was E now became M. And you just fill in, check off, move on to the next. Y'all know that. Said that enough in this build. Still super happy. And it's, you know, when it's idling, it sounds fantastic. And, you know, I'll get the rest figured out. It's cooling fine, fans are working, and I need to get a temperature gauge installed in the cab because the one in the dash doesn't work, which I kind of suspected. I have to make that caveat. When I first bought the truck, the whole drive home from Springfield, Missouri to where I live, almost 3-hour drive, it didn't work. And wasn't worried about it because it was running fine. So it's probably a gauge issue, not a sending unit or anything like that. So I'll have to get it in cab gauge, no big deal. Oil pressure though, it's fantastic. Holding about 55 pounds on startup, and after it got totally up to temperature, after a couple 3-run cycles, it never really dipped below 40 pounds. So oil pressure is great. Volts, I checked, 13.8 at the battery, so charging is working just fine. What else should I concern myself with? That's really about it. The temperature, I have a thermal gun, and I shot many different locations on the block, and the temperatures were where you would expect them for a warmed up motor. And we saw positive flow through the radiator, and everything looks fine, so not worried about it. It's running pretty darn good.
but not perfect, and I kind of want the motor to be perfect. So I'll get the valve lash readdressed, I'll get that timing set properly, get with the parts that I need to do that, and it's old age, and you don't think that it affects you, but trust me, folks, it does. You know, I'm 52 years old, and I've been thinking for months about getting that piece of timing tape that I need for that balancer, and I've made many different orders since then to Summit and other parts suppliers, and I just, when I'm in the catalog, when I'm filling out my cart, I never remember it. But today it was forced, you know, it's right there in front of me. I will get that timing tape done so I can accurately set the timing on it. Do know the vacuum advance works, because even though I couldn't reference the lines on the balancer, I made a couple of non-specific marks that you could see, and as you accelerate, you can see the timing climb on the balancer, so to the positive side of the 0 mark. So the distributor is working fine. I may actually buy a better ignition coil. I want to rule that out. That is the ignition coil that came with the very inexpensive foreign-made distributor. So I may get a good Valerie or Excel or MSD coil to put on top of it. I am running an MSD cap. I did, when I had to replace the distributor cap, I got a good MSD one, so I'm not worried about that. And the distributor itself appears to be fine. The spark's coming out like it should. So yeah, all in all, good day. Again, big thanks to my brother. And hope you all enjoyed the Charger little interlude there. That car is so freaking cool. I love it. It looks so good, sounds so good. He wants to do exhaust on it. It'll sound even better. When I get my shit straight, maybe I'll have time to go ahead and, if he wants to go ahead and tackle that exhaust, we can throw that on in an afternoon. That's no big deal. It's all bolt-in. But it'll sound even better. So thanks for watching. Tomorrow, I probably won't update till next weekend when I have some bigger things to do. But tomorrow I'm just going to get the wiring perfectly done, loomed, taped up in its final resting spot. Tonight, I measured what I needed to do for those brackets, the hold down brackets over the top of the radiator. I needed my vise, and it's here at home, so I'm going to bend the metal I need and make those permanent brackets and get those put on. And still on track. It's going to run, it's going to drive, and I want you there to see it. So please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.